I started my career at a company called Singapore Press Holdings. They had a monopoly of all the newspapers in Singapore. And they told me to be their futurist and or their media strategist, right? And I didn't really know what that meant. So what I did was they told me what you should do, Shawn, is look at all the best practices that are happening across, the other newspapers across the world. I said, that's a great idea. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at all the best practices that are happening across the world, and I'm going to bring that to Singapore Press Holdings. And then the innovations that we talked about at the time, this was 13 years ago, were this is newspaper terms, but how do we go from broadsheet newspapers to tabloid-sized newspapers? Like, how could somebody go to a train and start reading a paper? That's what we talked about. We never talked about social or mobile or cloud or analytics. We never talked about what the future of media could look like. And that's because we got so caught up with what was happening in our industry, what the best practices were happening in our industry, that we never saw what was happening at a macro level. So when I talk to organizations, part of my talk is to see what are the disruptive trends that are happening at a macro level so that we can bring those insights into what we are doing. Because if we get consumed with what's happening in front of us, we're going to be blinded around those big disruptive trends that are happening.